I bet Peter Jackson's feeling pretty lucky right now that Middle-earth isn't in or anywhere near North Korea. The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies. This is the latest and last installment of the J.R.R. Tolkien Middle-earth movies. Now, the Battle of the Five Armies takes place immediately after the Desolation of Smaug ends, with Thorin and Bilbo and the rest of the dwarves making their way to the mountain, unleashing Smaug and his dragonness, and then him flying over Lake Town, getting ready to just shred doom and all kinds of shit on the Lake Town residents. Now, I have to say, first and foremost, that Peter Jackson is a great director. He did a great job with the Lord of the Rings movies, and he does a great job here with the Hobbit movies. I do not think, nor do I wish anybody try to go and reboot or remake the Lord of the Rings movies, because to be honest with you, I don't think they should be remade. I think that Peter Jackson's versions are the best and hopefully only versions we will get to see of Middle-earth in my lifetime, in anybody's lifetime. These are the quintessential fantasy movies. The performances, they're amazing. Martin Freeman as Bilbo, Ian McKellen as Gandalf. You have Richard Armitage back as Thorin, and also back from Smaug is Luke Evans. And Luke Evans, I thought, was a great addition when they introduced him in the second one, Desolation of Smaug, and he does an equally great job in here. He is one of the more badass characters. Now, I know a lot of fans said, and I think the same thing, the first movies in these trilogies are pretty slow, but that's only because they are very character-driven. They're very story-driven. They are setting up the story to show you where you need to go by the end of the third movie. This Hobbit movie is no joke, almost all action. The action in this movie is awesome. The fights, the last battle, which is like the battle. It's the last battle, but it's like the battle. I gotta say, it was pretty awesome. It wasn't Michael Bay-esque to where like it was the end of Transformers 4, where it's like that hour plus of nothing but explosions and buildings getting destroyed, and it was very, very exhausting. I did get a little exhausted by some of the battle scenes, but overall it was very well done, and they were really fucking cool. Another thing I liked about the third movie is how they tied everything up. They didn't really leave too many loose ends. There's a couple things, if you're a hardcore Lord of the Rings fan, you will spot and be like, If you're a casual or you watch the Lord of the Rings movies frequently, you will pick up on some of the hints they dropped to lead you into the first movie. And I liked them. They were great. They tied everything up perfectly. I'm glad they did that. I want to say, without spoiling anything, that the first 20 minutes of this movie could have easily been 20 minutes extra in the second movie and just started this movie off at a different point. They did not need to make the opening scene for this movie the opening scene for this movie. Although it was a good way to kickstart a movie, it was just kind of a letdown. And also with the Battle of the Five Armies, it is the shortest movie based in Middle-earth. Pros and cons with that. Pros is that it actually went by a lot faster with all the action. It went by a lot faster than I expected it to. So by the time it was over, I was like, wow, really? It's already over? But the con with that is that I didn't get the emotional depth that I did with, say, The Return of the King. With it also being the end of the trilogy, Return of the King had enough emotion and depth and story to drive it, with it being a movie you can watch on its own and still fully appreciate it. With the Battle of the Five Armies, it was basically, like I said, a big battle scene, so you didn't really get the emotional depth and all that the Lord of the Rings Return of the King had. So with this movie, it was more of just watching a finale scene other than seeing an actual film. But yeah, if you're going to see this in the theater, I would highly recommend you watching The Desolation of Smaug before you go out, because this movie is a better pair with watching that than a standalone movie. So I have a confession to make. I have never actually seen all of the Lord of the Rings movies. So over the Thanksgiving break, we binge-watched the first two Hobbits and all three Lord of the Rings in their extended cut glory. So it was hours upon hours upon more hours and then a couple minutes of Middle-earth love. And I am now a fan of the Middle-earth saga. I really like the Lord of the Rings movies. I like the Hobbit movies. So going into the Battle of the Five Armies, I had a much more appreciation and understanding of Middle-earth and the stories and the characters. So I was kind of able to appreciate it a little bit more than your average moviegoer, which I liked, and I thank my girlfriend for that. So overall, The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies, what does it have? Great performances. I love the way it ties everything in together by the end of the movie. And there is not a dull moment in the movie, really. It's all action-packed, and it's awesome. But there are some moments that hinder it, such as with this movie not having as much emotional depth to actually make it a standalone film. The last battle scene, while cool and very, very action-packed, did get a little exhausting at times. There were times where I was just like, oh my god, okay, this is a lot of action to kind of break for a character scene. Also, the beginning scene with Smaug, very short-lived, a little disappointing. It should have been tacked on to the end of the second movie instead of an opening scene for the third. So, overall, I really liked the Battle of the Five Armies. They tied everything up perfectly. It was a great addition to the Hobbit series. I'm glad they tied it up the way they did. And I liked it. I didn't love it as much as I love the first two or the Lord of the Rings movies, but I liked it a lot. I'm going to give The Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies, 3.5 stars out of 5. Yeah, I know it's probably not as good a review as some Lord of the Rings lovers or some even the Hobbit lovers would like to hear, but that's just the truth. If they were to make The Desolation of Smaug and this one joined together to make a 2-movie Hobbit deal, that might get a little bit of a higher rating, but as it stands, that's what I gave it. So I want to thank you guys again for watching. If you liked my review, please give me some love below. Like it, subscribe. Let me know what you think of my reviews. And also you can follow me on my Twitter, which is @CEquinoa. That's @CEQUINOA. Or you can follow me on Facebook, Chris Equinoa. And also maybe if you want to leave a comment below and let me know what is your favorite film in the Middle-earth saga. I'd like to know. Leave a comment below. And I hope you guys have a great Christmas. And I will see you next time.